to my channel, Purposeful Play, where I talk about all things early childhood education. I'm Danielle, and I am a former preschool teacher. I am now a professional development trainer and just a lover of all things early childhood. So today, I want to talk to you about rules, routines, and transitions. Again, one of the biggest things that comes up in a lot of the comments and questions has to do with challenging behaviors. And part of that is that maybe those rules, routines, and transitions aren't quite where they should be. I'm not saying that that's the only reason why you have those challenging behaviors with your children, but it could be part of it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Let's get started. Rules, routines, and transitions, they are all working together, interconnected, and all just really, really important. I'm going to start with rules. You all know how important it is to have those really clearly defined rules in your preschool classroom, right? One of the things I like to suggest is that you develop and create those rules with your students. So instead of having them, on a big poster all ready to go before the children even come into the classroom in the beginning of the school year, work on those and develop those together. And why? Well, just like anything else that children do, if they are involved in that process, then they have that, not a buy-in, but they just seemed more invested. That's what I was thinking of, invested in that particular thing. So creating these rules together really helps those children become invested in the rules and more likely to follow those rules. When you're creating these rules together, you need time, actually the students need time to really understand what it means to be a preschool student and what it means or what it looks like to be in a preschool classroom. So, on that first day of school, you don't want to talk about what are our rules because they don't know what it means to be safe in a preschool classroom. They don't know what it means to be kind or take care of our materials. So that's why you need those couple of first several weeks to start to generate that list of rules. So you'll notice that first couple of weeks, I'm not saying don't have any rules at all, but that's when you kind of start talking about, that is something that's really important to us. This could be one of our rules that we follow. So you can start keeping track of those, whether you're writing them down, drawing little pictures of them, however you want to record them. And then you can start to talk about, after those several weeks, what are the rules in the classroom? Talking about what a rule is, that's also really important. Why it's important to have rules. And then more specifically, if you come up with the rule, we keep our hands and feet to ourselves, going through what that really looks like. What does that mean when a child keeps their hands and feet to themselves? Or what does it mean when a child uses their words? So they have to have a really clear idea of why that rule is a rule, and also what does that rule look like? If they were following that rule, what would they be doing? Keep your rules short, keep them clear, keep them to a minimum, like 3, maybe 5 rules. You'll find that most of your your little rules, we can call them those little rules, or those more specific rules, keeping your hands and feet to yourself, walking in the classroom, cleaning up after yourself, they typically fall under just a handful of those bigger rules. So, be safe, be kind, and take care of our materials, take care of our classroom. Most rules fall under those 3 bigger rules. If you want, you can have images or little drawings or pictures that go along with those rules so that children have an idea of what they are, because of course you're going to write these rules up, you're going to be writing them together. They're not going to be able to read those words most likely, so having some kind of little picture to go along with it will help them understand them a little bit more. Have your rules posted somewhere in your classroom. It could be in one area, or it could be posted throughout the classroom. So that can be a reminder to students, hey, these are our rules. Remember what our rules are? What could you be doing to follow that rule? Make sure when you're creating your rules, all those little rules that go along with the big rules, that they are stated positively, and because we want children to replicate or duplicate that behavior. So instead of saying we don't run, that's great. Yes, you're right, we don't run, but what do we do in the classroom? If we're not running, what are we doing? Oh, we're walking. So state your rules positively so children know what the expectation is and what they should be doing, not what they shouldn't be doing. Does that make sense? Refer to your rules often. Doesn't have to be during a time when those rules are being broken. It could just be, you're doing a little puppet scene and you want to model how a child could follow that rule. Or maybe there's something going on in a book that you're reading and you can talk to them about, wow, does that follow our rules that we have in our classroom? Let's talk about that. So refer to your rules often and model how you and your students, your children, follow those rules. And I think the last thing to remember is it takes time, right? Children need lots of time to practice following those rules, being reminded of those rules. So it takes time, it takes patience on your part. So just be understanding of that. Routines. So routines help children, and I'm sure there's a lot of research theory to back this up, but children need routines to feel safe, to help reduce their stress of not knowing what is coming next. So having those routines that they are aware of and they can follow each day are going to really help them with those self-regulation skills. You'll notice when the routine is broken or children have a routine that is upset, that's when you might see tantrums and really strong emotions that are coming out, those challenging or unwanted behaviors. So sticking to a routine for young children is really important. Actually, not just for young children. Lately, I have had some days where I don't have as much to do. I'm not working. And when I don't have that routine, I feel like I don't get as much done. When I have more on my plate or when I have more in my schedule, I tend to stick to my routine and accomplish more. So it works for children, it works for adults too. Okay, establishing routines. Letting children know what is coming next. Create a visual schedule or a picture schedule that is posted that children can see all of the time. Make sure that it is interactive so that children can, either flip a card over or move it from what we're doing to what we've already done. I've seen some teachers use like a little arrow that points to the part of the day. I had mine horizontal, and then we had a circle magnet, and we would move to be underneath the time of day that we were in that moment. You can even make that one of the student jobs in your classroom. So maybe one of the students gets to move that magnet or move the arrow or whatever you want to do to show what part of the day they're in. It's a great job for children to do. And also when you have that visual schedule or that picture schedule, you also should be referring to it often and saying, oh, we're during choice time right now. We've got, 5 more minutes left. And then what are we doing next? Oh, we're going to be doing this. So just continuously refer to that schedule so that children have that comfort in knowing what is coming next. If there are changes in the schedule for that day, make sure you talk about it at the beginning of the day. I always had mine on my whiteboard and they were on magnets. So we would have, those parts of the day laid out horizontally. And if there was something special that was happening, I would just move one over and I would just draw on the whiteboard a little picture and then write the words underneath it, so that when they came in, they noticed, or if they didn't, I would point it out that something different was happening that day. We talked about what that was, so there wasn't like a huge surprise when that part of the day happened instead of, the part that they were normally used to having happen. If you don't talk about it the morning of, you might even refer to it the day before and saying, hey, this is something that's going to be a little bit different tomorrow. This is what we're going to be doing. Transitions kind of go back to rules and routines, because without good solid rules and routines, transitions can be really challenging. So making sure you have those set and that children have a good understanding of those rules and routines is going to really help with your transitions. I like to have, when we're transitioning, some kind of cue. It could be something that is like a verbal cue that you say it. It could be like a sound, like a chime or a bell or a song that you play, so that children know that, oh, it is time to transition into the next activity. They know what the next activity is because they can see that in their visual schedule. So it's going back again to the routines. And transitions, actually all these rules, transitions, and routines need to be taught. So this, if children are going to be transitioning when they hear a song, then that has to be something that you establish at the beginning, the very beginning of the school year, and you teach what happens when that song is played. You have to model, again, model, what they do when they hear that sound, they hear that song, they hear your voice saying something. So examples of transitions, when a student comes into the classroom or, is being dropped off by a family member. So that separation, that's a transition. Coming to the carpet from outside to inside, whether it's during, after recess or outdoor time or the very beginning of the day. Cleanup is a big transition. Lining up at any time, whether it's washing hands or going outside or coming inside, sitting on the carpet. Those are all those little transitions that need to be taught, but then also need to have something happening during that transition. So children, you won't see those really challenging or unwanted behaviors. So giving a warning, especially, I'm going to talk for a minute about cleanup time. Giving children that warning, well, we've got 5 more minutes or we've got 3 more minutes. And then also I like to give that visual of a timer. So you can use like one of those really big sand timers. Love the big sand timers because they come in different times. Or you can use one of those, it's a clock, but it's a timer and it has like a little part that is red and then that red part disappears. I'm not sure if it buzzes when it's done or dings when it's done. But again, that's that visual that children can see, oh, my time is running out. So giving them that warning so that they are mentally getting prepared that time is going to be coming soon, that they need to start cleaning up. Some children might need a little bit more warning than that one. If you say that you've got 3 minutes left, some children might need 5, and then they also might need that reminder of 3 and then also that reminder of 1, just because some children are so into it that it's really hard for them to stop what they're doing and clean up. So just giving them that warning, so maybe it gets them to a spot where they think they might be able to stop, will kind of decrease that stress and anxiety. Again, continuing to speak about cleaning up, you need to teach the children how to do that. That is not something that you should expect them to know how to do. So the beginning of the school year, you've got to show them exactly the materials, the toys go in the basket, and show them how to match the materials with the correct basket. So having those labels on the basket or bucket or however you choose it and on the shelf. So showing them like step by step how to put it in, then taking the basket or bucket and putting it on the shelf. So teaching them, while you're teaching them how to use materials, show them where it's kept and how to clean it up. I love puppets, or even like a role play if you have a co-teacher or a teaching assistant. You guys can have a little role play on how to do that cleanup. You may even have the person or puppet maybe not do it incorrectly, and then the children try to correct them. That's fun. Sometimes in a large group, teaching all of these things is not the best way to do it because, well, it's just that sometimes small groups work out better. You have that time to focus on that small group of children. They can ask questions. They can practice these transitions, these rules and routines. So sometimes it's good to teach these in a small group, and then sometimes it's good to teach them in a large group, just depending on your group of children. So that's cleaning up. I know a lot of teachers say, well, I don't have as many materials out because they just dump them and they don't clean them up. Again, I would go back to, are they not cleaning up because they don't want to? Or are they not cleaning up because they don't know how to? So it might be going back to that and revisiting, hey, when we use these materials, this is what we do with them. And being with that child or that group of children and showing them exactly how to clean it up. Instead of limiting the toys, just going back to teaching them how to care for the toys. So that's cleaning up. Lining up, or going from line outside to inside, or going from choice time to carpet. Give children something to do during that time. So if they are lining up, sing a song, play a little movement game or movement activity, have them do a finger play. So they are busy doing something. And also it's a time to be teaching whatever kind of skill too, because you can use it as a teaching moment as well. For me, I tried to limit the transitions as much as possible. So, and also when I did a transition, there was a purpose and a place that we were doing and going. I don't know if that makes sense, but for example, during choice time, at the end of choice time, we would clean up. And when they were done cleaning up, they would go to the carpet, but they wouldn't just sit and wait for us to all be done, because some children take longer than others to clean up. So what we would do is that would be a time where we would put on some fun song on CD, or however it used to be CD. I think it's probably, Spotify now or whatever, but put on a song so that children can do a movement activity while they're waiting for everybody to finish up cleaning, and then everybody can come on the carpet. Or if that's not something you want to do, and you are lucky enough to have 2 adults in the room, you can have one adult that is, helping supervise and assist with cleanup, and then another adult is on the carpet, whether it's leading a finger play or a song. Maybe they're doing a mindful moment or some yoga. So again, engaging children in some kind of activity so they are not waiting, and that will also help limit those behaviors that you're maybe not wanting, struggling with. Okay, to recap, here's your to-do list. Rules. Create them together at the beginning of the school year. Keep them simple and short and stated positively. Refer to them often and model those rules and what they look like. Routines. Create a visual or picture schedule and make it interactive so the children are helping go through the day and show what part of the day they are in. If there are changes in your routine or your schedule, make sure that you give children enough notice and time to process that and know what is going to be coming next. And the last thing is transitions, especially cleanup time. You've got to teach, and model. How do you do those things? Make it easy for them. Label all of your materials with words and pictures. Label the shelves, label the baskets. Have finger plays, songs, activities ready to go so that when children are lining up or waiting on the carpet, they are not just waiting, they have something to do. And make sure you have some kind of way to cue or give children notice that that transition is coming. I think that's all I wanted to share with you about rules, routines, and transitions. I'm going to link below a couple of my videos that have some transition ideas in them. They have some songs and finger plays and things like that you might find helpful, so I will link those down below. If you have ideas or struggling with any of those, you can leave a comment or a question. I always respond to each and every one of them. And that's it, guys. I'm teaching a virtual session in 22 minutes, so I better get logged on. Thanks for watching and have a happy day.